The meeting is called to order. Pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, notice Commissioners Court is now in session. We're meeting in the Central Jury Room. If y'all, please, thank you. So the first order of business is to the invocation. And would you rise, please? Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we're truly glad to be in your presence today and just be here to do your business, Lord, and act under your direction and under your guidance and do everything under your will, Lord. And be with each one of the commissioners, Lord, as they make decisions. Be with our country, be with our nation, be with our president, Congress, and all our soldiers. Guide and protect them, Lord, from harm's way. And just as we go do your business, give us guidance and wisdom. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Would you join me, please, in the pledge to the flag of our great country? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Join me in the pledge to Texas. Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. You may be seated. Thank you. Special presentations, Amy.
We have Pat Vick celebrating 5 years of service today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Turn around. Thank you.
Well, you got two people wanting to take pictures. I'm glad our picture takers coordinated their tops this morning. That's very nice. Okay, I believe the sheriff has...
We have one more, Judge.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
And Shane Bolton, he's celebrating 15 years today.
All right.
Good job. Well, where did Roger... Oh, there you are.
Too big to hide.
Judge, Commissioners, today I come before you to honor Mike Brown and give him our appreciation and thanks for all he's done for us with the DARE program. Over the years, he's offered up a vehicle to use every year since he started doing this, and put decals on them, and we insure them under the county, and we take good care of them, and he lets us do this every year. And so I wanted to do something for him, and so, Mr. Brown, can you come up? I'd like to present you with an appreciation plaque. Just thank you so much for all you do with helping us with the DARE program and providing us a vehicle for Deputy Brown to go out and take care of business around the county, so we greatly appreciate you. And we also got this DARE poster that we framed it so you can hang it in your office.
Or in your dealership.
Well, thank you.
Wherever you want to hang it.
It's a pleasure, and y'all do a good job. You're appreciated, too.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much. Mike, we do appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much. Next is citizens' comments. I have two. Is there anybody else that would like to address the court, Commissioner's Court, on any agenda item? The sheriff has forms to fill out if you do. Like I said, I have two already. None? Okay. Thank you. At the appropriate time, you may speak. Next item is the consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull anything off of the consent agenda?
Hearing none, Judge, I make a motion to approve consent agenda. Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Commissioner Berry and seconded by Commissioner Simpson to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, consent agenda is adopted. All right, the next item on the agenda is item number 8, and that is business for subdivision, roads and plats.
Judge Cochran, Commissioners, we're requesting a public hearing to approve the Lot 1, Block 1 of the Headington Addition. It's located in the Water Quality District at 3250 Fall Creek Highway in Precinct 3. The proposal is to take 4 different separate unplatted tracts and combine them and plat it as 2.810 acre tract. This proposal does meet all the requirements of the Hood County subdivision regulations. Staff does make a recommendation of approval, but I would like to ask the court to, in their decision, that we do need to make a correction to this. It's not a replat. It is a final plat of the Headington Addition, Lot 1, Block 1.
Okay, the public hearing is now open to discuss and consider approval of the final plat of Lot 1, Block 1, Heatherton Addition, located in Precinct 3 and submitted by Leonard and Dorothy Heatherton. Does anybody want to make any comments about this final plat?
Judge, I just make a note that Commissioner Heathington did abstain and stepped off the bench at this time, just for the record.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Anybody have any comments? Hearing none, then the public hearing is now closed. Will entertain a motion to approve this final plat?
Second.
Commissioner Simpson made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Roan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Item B.
Judge, the second one is a site development plan. The name of it is S&S Self-Storage. It's located in the Road Corridor District at 3501 McCreary Road in Precinct 3. The applicant proposes a mini storage facility with building one 200-foot by 30-foot unit to be built initially and possibly phasing into 7 additional buildings over the next 5 years, depending on the needs and the demand of the customers. The Development Commission reviewed the site development plan on the 19th of May and also on June the 23rd. They tabled it one on the 19th. There were some questions about the drainage. In that meeting, give me just a second, let me pass this out. What I've handed you is an assessment made by a local engineer concerning the drainage. In this assessment, his recommendation is that after the first initial building is built, that the applicant is required to construct a detention pond to alleviate and keep the same CFS flowing into the Hood County, or the public drainage, keep it at the same. This is what the Development Commission looked at June the 23rd. After reviewing this on that date, they make a recommendation to the Commissioners Court to approve the site development plan. Staff also makes a recommendation of approval.
Wait a minute, I think we need a public hearing on that first, don't we?
No, sir.
Oh, okay, it said, okay. Then we have a motion made by Commissioner Heatherington to approve,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Berry. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next item is item B on Section 8, and it's Budget and Finance. Consider budget line item amendments.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. The Sheriff has asked for a budget amendment related to the K-9 line item. Sheriff, if you're here, do you have anything you'd like to say about that?
Judge, Commissioners, we do have that K-9 line item, and we were basically out of money, and we still got some months to go, and I have 2 dogs that I need to take care of. And so I just ask that you approve this transfer of funds from, can't even think of what that one line was. Yeah, 430 to 575, but I can't think of what that was.
Advertising.
Oh, yes, correct, I'm sorry. Advertising, over to that. Because of the limited amount, since the constables do all the civil stuff, we don't do much advertising, so we do have money in there, so transferring over to where we really need it over in the K-9 line item.
Does anybody have any questions about this for the sheriff?
What it goes for is food and vet bills, things of that nature, so. Dogs do have some needs, but they are basically pretty healthy, but just ask that you approve this at this time.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Heatherington, seconded by Commissioner Simpson. Any discussion? And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Sheriff.
Judge and Commissioners, the other item is from Judge Walton's office. He has alerted me that attorney fees have run more than were anticipated. I don't know if the judge will be able to be here this morning. He's been on the bench. They're having court. But this is, he has had some attorney fees related to murder trials. And so this would be a request to move $20,000 out of the contingency for the murder trial line item and move that in.
The judge is
He
here.
just walked in, Stan.
Judge is here? Okay. Judge Walton? I have anything other than to introduce this. If you had any comments or explanations.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to alert you all, morning.
Morning.
Just wanted to alert you all to a possible problem with the district court budget concerning budgeted attorney's fees. Of course, that's the biggest item on the district court budget, and there is some $235,000 in the budget for this year. As of the end of this month, we will have spent a little over $175,000 of that, and that will basically be an average of about nearly $22,000 a month that's being spent. If you extrapolate that out for the remainder of the year, then we're going to be at somewhere around $262,000, a little bit over that, which obviously is about $27,000 over budget. So that's because of that. I just really want to alert you to that fact. To make the formal, I guess, Stan, you've made a request to transfer an amount out of that contingency fund for murder trials of $20,000 into the district court budget to meet this budgetary override, and basically just kind of answer any questions you all might have about that. If you do, I would mention to you just a couple of things as it relates to that. The biggest area where we've seen an increase this year has been in civil appointments, okay? And civil appointments typically are CPS cases. We've just had an abundance of those kinds of cases being filed this year for whatever reason. It's just one of those things in society that we deal with for various and sundry reasons, but there's just been an increase of those kinds of cases this year. And as of now, we have paid in that civil realm nearly $40,000 in attorney's fees through this month. Last year, for the entire year, we paid $30,000. So you can see that just through this month of June, we're well over the amount that was spent for the entire previous year. So why? I don't know. The good news, I guess, is we've made less criminal appointments this year than we did last year, for whatever that's worth, and I don't know why that is either, but nonetheless, that is the case. But the amount of monies are about still the same. And I would report this to you, too, just for your own edification, for whatever it's worth, in the whatever it's worth category. We had pending on this court's docket last year at this time 6 murder cases, and we have disposed of 5 of those and all of them with convictions, life sentences, by the way. But four of those had court-appointed attorneys. 3 of those cases are on appeal with court-appointed counsel. One of those had retained counsel. We tried that case in the month of May, and so the county didn't have to pay. And that was a 2-week-long trial, too, very expensive, time-consuming trial. So fortunately, the county did not have to pay on that because that individual hired his own counsel to represent him. And one of those, of the other 4, did plead guilty to the charge, and so went to the court for punishment. That took about 30 seconds. And so my point being that obviously we didn't incur a lot of attorney's fees in that particular case because the individual did plead guilty to the charge, and so that case was concluded rather expeditiously. So that's we do have one remaining, and that is a death penalty case, as I understand. So that is going to be expensive. You know, we've talked about that before, I think, and it will be expensive. I don't anticipate the case will be tried until next year, from what I understand. In visiting with lawyers, it probably will not be tried until next winter or spring. And so that's where we are on the current budget. Any questions? I'll be glad to.
Judge, I make a motion to approve his budget amendment.
Commissioner Berry made a motion that we approve this. By the way, I just, second. Commissioner Roan seconded. And I appreciate you coming in and speaking with us. I know that CPS cases, nearly everybody in a case has to have an attorney appointed for them, so it just...
Yeah, let me speak to that, Judge. That's the thing about these CPS cases. You know, everybody has to have a lawyer, especially if CPS is seeking termination. Everybody's got to have a lawyer. Most of these people, quite frankly, are indigent, cannot afford to hire lawyers. The lawyers require you to appoint a lawyer for the children, appoint a lawyer for the parents, and many times you have multiple children and multiple dads. It's not uncommon to have 4 children, 2 or 3 or 4 different dads. They all have to have lawyers under the law. And that's another reason for the increase in that civil area. And it's probably not going to get any better. That's my assessment of it. It certainly hasn't gotten any better the 17 years that I've been doing this job. So there you go.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you all. I appreciate your...
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I guess you did approve that, didn't you?
Yeah, well, we're about to. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Motion carried. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Item number 2, I think, is consider payment of bills.
Yes, Judge and Commissioners, the bills for your consideration this morning come to $479,504.32. Of course, some of the larger items, as Judge Walton just mentioned, for attorneys and court reporters and judges and the like is $24,465. To Ergon Asphalt and Emulsion, $13,271.11 for road ops materials. To J Mills Contracting, $51,256.57. That's on a roads construction contract. To J.C. Stoddard Construction for a progress payment on the courthouse restoration, $173,328.62. To Train, most of this one, probably $30,000 of this is for the courthouse restoration, but the total to Train is $34,639. Then to Transmontane Product Services, $38,553.63. That's for fuel card purchases. But I have provided payment warrant for each one of the items on the expenditures, and I've given you an accounts payable register of each one. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have about the bills, but I would ask for your approval to get these paid.
Move we ratify paying the bills.
Second.
I have a question.
Who seconded?
I did.
Okay. Go ahead.
Stan, on adult probation, internal transfer of this 14,000 to 086, since adult probation is a state agency, what is that transfer?
That's a transfer to Fund 86. I believe it's from Fund 87. That was just a budgetary request that the Adult Probation Department made to make sure that all of their records conform to the state budget.
So I can't see that, but you're saying it's coming from 87 to 86?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, have a motion made by Commissioner Heatherington, seconded by Commissioner Roan to ratify paying the bills. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Stan. We're down in a miscellaneous, and I have a note here that item 8C, we need to move that to the top, which is, it's under item number 6, which is consider and take appropriate action on resolution to support of Richard English to fill a vacancy on the Brazos G Water Planning Group. Yes.
Morning, Judge Cockrum and Commissioners. I'm Richard English. I'm the one who intends to apply for the vacancy, representing water districts on Region G. You may be aware Region G is one of 16 regional water planning areas across the state, each of which is tasked with looking at growth projections over a 50-year period, putting together water development, management, and conservation strategies to try to accommodate growth. So, and it's all kind of rolled into the state water plan that was initiated by Senate Bill 1. So I'm looking forward to the effort and being part of the group if y'all are wanting to endorse me.
Anybody have any question for Mr. English?
Great representative. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion made by Commissioner Berry, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington to approve Richard English to fill a vacancy on the Brazos G Water Planning Group. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, now we're jumping back to 1, and we're going to, this is consider and take appropriate action on redistricting information from Robert Bass.
Hello, Judge. Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, let me get a screen. Let's talk just real briefly for background purposes. The redistricting process is constitutional foundation found in Article 2 of the Federal Constitution, which calls for the Congress to be reapportioned after each federal census so that each representative seat has roughly the same population represented. As a result of that, as the state's populations grow or decline, the delegation for that state might grow or decline in terms of number of representatives, but the number of people represented by each representative remains constant based on the total population of the country. Over the years, the same concept has been handed down to lower governmental units. Commissioners' courts were adjudicated to be subject to a similar obligation in the late 60s. And so what we do after each census is take the total county population, divide it by the number of commissioner seats, because the judge is elected at large, even though you're a member of the commissioner's court, the representative seats are the 4 commissioners. Divide the county population by 4. You come up with a target or ideal population size. You then determine what your actual population is compared to the ideal, and the deviation, it's called, or the difference. You then determine a percentage, and you take the range of the deviation from top to bottom. In this case, your largest precinct in terms of population was Precinct 4. It was about 1,384 overpopulated. Precinct 1 was underpopulated by 1977. Those two percentages, 15.45%, 10.82% plus or minus, You add those two together, disregarding the plus or minus sign, and you get a 26.27% deviation. Anything above 10% is deemed to be presumptively unconstitutional, requiring you to redraw your boundaries to bring that deviation down. Once you begin to make any change, you then trigger the Voting Rights Act, which requires you to analyze the ethnic makeup of your community. As a result of the 2010 census, we find that your total population of 51,182 people is composed of 87% Anglo, 0.44% Black, and about 10.23% Hispanic. 10 years ago, those percentages were about 90.5% Anglo, 0.27% Black, and 7.24% Hispanic. So there's the total ethnic concentration in the county is about combined around 13%, mostly made up of Hispanic population. 10 years ago, the precinct with the largest minority concentration was Precinct 4. It had about 87.97% Anglo, about 0.37% Black, 2.14% Hispanic. Today, before we do anything, the concentration there is 0.61% Black and about 13.21% Hispanic. So what we're going to want to do is to make sure that we preserve as significant a minority content in 4 as we reasonably can. We have developed 4 options. The maps are displayed there in front of you, but let's look at Plan 1. This plan addresses the change necessary in 2 locations, and I apologize, I'm not familiar sufficiently with the communities to call them, but voting box 12, out in box 12, there is, you can see the shading in some of these census blocks, and if I zoom in close enough, you can see the census blocks in the streets. The ethnicity of Hispanic population, these hatch marks show minority concentrations of Hispanic and Black concentrations. What we have tried to do is take enough of this population out of voting box
12.
4, voting box 12, to shift that population to address the imbalance of populations between precincts 1 and 4. So that is essentially where the change has been made. That change addresses the overpopulation of precinct 4 and the underpopulation of precinct 1 by dividing that box 12, which was normally or previously allocated, I believe, to precinct 4. And so we've taken all of that box from the North County boundary all the way down. I'm going to turn off this transportation layer so we can see a little bit more of the back out a little bit here. See where that change has been made. This is the old voting box boundary, this yellow line. So you can see that is the voting box parameters or jurisdiction for that voting box. It runs up along the river and then up to the North County line, runs down to this area, this subdivision area, and we've essentially split it at the opportune location across that boundary. The boundary split, it's hard, it's Oak Hill Drive, then it jumps up here, it looks like to Hilltop, it's this boundary. Now, census blocks are what create these divisions. Some of those census blocks are a little difficult. I think I went into that before when I was here, but so this is the smoothest line in retaining the balance that we need, that we could make. I tried to take the line across Hilltop all the way, but that created too much deviation itself, so that's where we ended up breaking this line. Now, down in one of the desires of these plans is to take in this area right here, be on the border between precincts 1 and 2, so that the court building located at this location could be utilized for justice courts. So that's one reason we took this area in. Again, if you'll back off a little bit, you can see that we've taken some territory that was in box 1 out of box 2 over into, out of box 2 into box 1, whichever way you want to look at that. This territory that's now in green right there was in box 1, and it's now going to be part of box 2, so that we could bring joinder up into that area where the courts building would be, right in here. Other than that, those are the only changes we made in this plan. This plan results in a 5.6% deviation, down from 26.27. It has a minority content of 0.64% black and about 12.83%, which is an improvement over the plans, the last pre-cleared plan that you have. So this plan, we believe, would pre-clear if it were adopted. Now, we wanted a couple of other looks at similar approaches, so that's Plan 1 is depicted on the maps to my far left, your far right. Next plan, Plan 2, takes a different approach. It may be a little too different, but I'll let you judge that. This plan, again, uses the box 12 area. In this plan, we did try to smooth that line across, so it does use Hilltop to achieve a little higher minority content. As you come down into, you see, we still have joinder between 2 and 1 here at the courts building, but we have used a different approach on this, and in this case, we've connected this body of population running down, I guess it's 144.
Yes, sir.
Across, we've just used the highway right-of-way itself, including the road surface across the river, to connect to the balance of 2. So you can see that 2 considerably, it's the same essential formation as far as precinct 1 and 2 as it is now, with this exception right in this area. We've taken this population out of 2, this population out of box 1, and put it over into box 3 to create that connector right through there.
Put it in 2, not 3.
For 2, yes, sir. So the changes here are limited to this area and up in box 12 again, where we use that division across Hilltop.
You've added some north end.
Now, the deviation in this plan is 5.3%, and it has a 13.17% Hispanic content and a 0.65% black content. And that was the highest minority content that we were able to obtain under any of these plans.
Can you show the western structure of 1 and 2 on this one?
a little further west into Toller.
West along this line?
No, west along 377.
Your left.
Go this
That's
way.
all one right
Your
there.
left.
Your left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your details.
Well, no, I'm just looking, you've cut everything off west of 144 off of 2.
Yes.
So that's not the only change you made up there with that stringer. You've cut everything west of 144 off of 2.
Yeah, I don't have existing here in front of me, so I,
Well, existing goes all the way to Toller on 2. So you've cut that geography about in half, a lot more than half.
okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
You got over half the county geography, but not very many people. No, I know, but a lot of roads.
All right, that's plan,
I don't like it connector.
plan 2. Plan 3. I think the only thing we tried to do here was just make the shift here in box 12. We left everything else the same. The one problem with that is we don't have joinder, I don't believe, along the Pearl Street. So here's the courts building here, it's wholly in one. To get joinder, we would use the right-of-way either of 377, or I guess you could come up 144 and then over 377. Probably be the simplest to just come in right-of-way here, bring that building into, have joinder with 2. So those are this plan has a higher deviation, 6.9. There's still,
Still under 10.
1 is underpopulated by 525. 3 is overpopulated by 365. Those are the 3 options that we've developed to, excuse me, accomplish what's required of us under the Voting Rights Act. Any questions?
Do you have any questions?
Did you say you did 4, Bob? I thought you had a 4th option. Did you say
No,
that?
I just developed 3.
Okay. Can you back out so we can see option 1 again as a whole?
Option 1.
Or the first one you showed, I don't know which option that was.
See the whole county?
Yes, sir.
That combines Toller, Mike.
That puts all the Toller in one
Yeah,
precinct,
it
the whole
does, that
city.
combines Toller. Yeah. I like that a lot better. Leaves you good too with your residents. Was that portion on the left side, south of the lake, doesn't have many people?
It still has 2 voting boxes, though.
What?
Still has 2 voting boxes, 6 and 5 in total.
Well, yeah, but.
Well, you could combine them, though. You could actually do away with 1.
They're combined under one commissioner, they're not divided right in half.
Right.
That's part of the cost. It takes 2 voting boxes when 377 divides it, because
That's
the north
true.
side's 1 and then the south side's the other.
Yeah.
Now she could combine them to 1 voting
They
box,
can combine them into one voting
as
box.
long as it didn't go over that magic number of 5,000 or whatever it did when it went over the con.
I don't
Unless
think
it's
it's
here,
going
but-
to there.
Can you show us the other 2, just because I'd like to see them like that right there? Okay, I'm ready for the next option.
I have Toler's
It's
divided.
still divided in half there.
Yeah.
I like option one. I don't know what that does to Steve, though.
Do what? I'm sorry.
Doesn't that divide one of your subdivisions right in half, doesn't it?
Well, it's not, it really doesn't divide them exactly in half, because Oak Trail Shores is the one that's the majority that losing, but there's Lake Granbury Estates, and everything that you see to the north. Oak Hill would be a perfect scenario, because Oak Hill takes Lake Granbury Estates, right, Donald? That's those streets to the north, and Oak Trail Shores would be to the south. And Oak Trail Shores Baptist Church and Station 70 up on the hill are the portion of Oak Trail Shores that it would cut out. So it'd be very, I mean, that's the...
Pretty fragmented.
That's the only fragmented part is Oak Trail Shores Baptist Church and the firehouse. That's where they voted in the past at Box 12, but Lois has already talked to me about how she'd change that up.
Oh, she has?
Mm-hmm. Actually, will be, until we go over that 5,000. 5,000 is a number, right, Lois? Until you go over that number, we'll actually be able to consolidate a box down.
So you don't think it'll cause any conflict or confusion with people's addresses on?
Everything we do causes conflict.
Commissioners, there was also concern that voting precinct 1 was a rather large precinct. So if we went with this and left it so that Oak Trail Shores is still a voting polling location, we could somehow go in and divide up precinct 1 and move the northern section over there to Oak Trail Shores Baptist Church, and the rest of Oak Trail Shores would then merge in with precinct 4, voting precinct 4, and go to First Baptist Church.
Or another option for precinct 1 that we talked about was Triple Cross Church is right there close, so it wouldn't make them come all the way back into town. So she's got 2 or 3 options. Triple Cross Church is now available possibly, along with Oak Trail Shores Baptist Church, and then also First Baptist Church out on 51.
That doesn't address uniting Toller.
No. One issue with combining box 5 and 6 into one voting precinct is not only do we have to look at population, we actually have to look at the radius of a voting precinct, how far each individual is, and convenience, and the numbers. We have 2 available locations out there, but they're both very small locations. They can't accommodate a huge crowd of 300, 400, 500, 600 people in a single day. They're both probably close to at capacity at about 200 people per day. And that's on average what each of those precincts vote in a given election.
But since we've looked at that, the community center is now open as well.
Yeah, it is.
So the community center can obviously...
I haven't visited the community center, so that would be an option. That's something that we have to considerize in the election code is, can those 2 be combined into one? Do we go over population, which we do not? Do we go over radius, which I don't know if it would. I don't think it would, since that's a central location. And items like that, we would just have to combine the workers and those issues.
Well, it just speaks to convenience combining them, or uniting Toller, because of the fact that you have alternate commissioners being elected from one side of the street to the other, and this would combine a lot of effort there. And with the community center, it's also a convenient way to centralize it. My concern is more, as long as we don't go over the 5,000, I don't think there's any way we will.
No.
And I don't think we're in trouble on the radius if you look at land ownership, because there's some big...
He's measuring now.
Okay.
He's playing.
And in the process,
It's about 18 miles north to south, those 2 areas.
what's the limit?
There's 20 miles is considered.
That's what I thought. So I don't think we're going to have a problem with either of those. And it doesn't cause a population problem, I mean, precinct population problem.
That's the one thing I hear, people want to be in the same commissioner's precinct in Toller. That's one thing
Yes,
that I did hear.
absolutely.
I think that's only fair to those people because we've had them divided up for a long time, and it causes it's not a conflict, but it causes a problem from the standpoint that they alternate years and therefore alternate loyalties, if you will, as well. So I think it's also better for the commissioner because he addresses issues in Toller that relate to all of Toller and relate to their city council rather than, well, it relates to Toller if it's south of 377 versus north. That's a constant issue.
And I just want to remind commissioners, the reason Plan 2 is designed the way it is, at our workshop in April, a citizen had suggested taking 144 as actually the dividing line between precincts 1 and 2. And that's where we came up with that plan. That's why it kind of is a little gerrymandered in there. But that was a citizen that suggested using 144 as the dividing line.
Well, I'm not sure if I agree with that one, but
There's good and bad in both, in that plan. Yes, it's kind of given all of, or a good chunk of the county to Commissioner 1. The complaints I hear from voters currently in Precinct 2, whatever Pecan wants, Pecan carries the rest of the precinct.
and if you narrow it down, it's going to make it worse, not better.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
there's a large voting population in voting Precinct 3, that voting Precinct 3 with voting Precinct 11 actually has the same registered voters as it equals inside of Pecan. So the numbers are there, they could balance each other, it's just they don't turn out.
I know it's a turnout issue, but the point is, if you narrow the geography to 144, you're simply handing Pecan more power. I don't think there's any way to balance it if you don't keep that commercial and residential area going up by Spanish Trail and so forth on 144 in 2. Just an opinion.
Just something to look at.
Mr. Bass, do you have anything further on this?
No, sir, I think we're posted as a public hearing, so if the public has any comment on the three alternatives, it would be helpful to have that as a record.
Does any public have any comments on this?
Your Honor, this map we're looking at here on the screen, is that what you're classifying as Plan 1?
No, sir, this is
No.
Plan
3.
That's 3.
And it coincides with map 3 here on the bench, is that correct?
Over here.
Yes, sir.
How does the Plan 3 and Plan 1 differ?
One puts all of Toller in one box, Dwayne.
I see.
That's the only real difference, okay?
That's really the only difference.
And the triangle, yes,
So the
that,
podium was in the way of map 3.
I can understand.
In map 1, Spanish Trail is left in precinct 2, that is left in 2.
Yes.
Correct.
All it does is combine Toller on the western extension of the county. I think down the Plexi Highway or someplace.
Well, it's
I know that you guys are going to be greatly affected by this, so do you have a recommendation to the Commissioners Court on Plan
I
1?
agree, Your Honor, Plan 1 seems to
Okay.
best to me.
The other thing is too, is that what we got to look at too, is the evictions have to be filed in that precinct. Precinct 1, precinct 2, they have to be filed in that JP school. That's the only evictions that have to be done. The other cases can be done in any precinct. We have to look at eviction lines.
So this would work for that too.
Okay. Any other citizen comment? Any input? Any commissioners?
No, sir.
So Bob, what happens at 2 o'clock, after the 2 o'clock meeting, what happens? I mean, we go through the
Go
same
through the same thing, hopefully we'll have different.
opinions.
People would have an opportunity to be at a later meeting, that couldn't be here this morning. But it'll be the same presentation.
Okay.
And then how long, and what do we do if I'm voting or accepting one of these? What's the,
You've been posted as having authority, I believe, to take action if you choose to today, or you could defer to your next regular meeting, but you need to adopt a plan. So that
Before September 8th, I think.
one of these plans needs to be adopted. I think all three will pre-clear.
Well, I don't think we should do it till this afternoon.
Well, yeah.
We need to start forming election boundaries, precinct boundaries to the new commissioners' lines. And until we know what the commissioners' lines are, we can't get about that.
can you electronically send these to all of us to look at today between now and 2?
That'd be a help.
I thought we'd already done that. I've asked my office already to send that.
I haven't seen them, but.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah,
Looking
thanks, Bob.
forward to 2 o'clock. All right, the next item is consider addition to existing Mitel lease. An IT department is, are they good?
Jan's
Yes,
here.
there we go.
As we've grown in the county, there are locations that can only operate on IP phones, such as 51 in Acton and the new investigator building in the Sheriff's Department. We are short 2 phones in that location because we have no more licenses for the IP phones. So we're asking for 2 more licenses that are for something a month to complete that location.
Do you have that in his budget?
We will take care of it in the budget at this time.
Motion approved. Second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Barrick, seconded by Commissioner Roan to approve the addition of 2 phones for the Mitel lease. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Item number 3, consider and take appropriate action to appoint a committee. And IT are you taking care of that too? Do you have a list?
Do I have a list? No, Jackie was requesting that
You emailed one, there was one emailed to us from Jackie. I think I printed that out.
in different locations yesterday than I was, and so.
Because we talked about it in detail
We
yesterday.
wanted a broad coverage of those that use the system so that it would be a valid evaluation of different programs other than net data or compared to net data.
I believe there's about 14 members, right? It was proposed, or is there more?
Read the list. Who has the list?
I don't have the list with me. You have the list?
No, he didn't give me a list, he just, the
It was-
list, oh, wait, yes, he did, here it
That
is.
this morning, but I didn't print it out.
Donna, do you have the list?
I have it right here. It's
Oh,
here.
okay.
Yeah, it's here. Here's
Okay, you want me to read it, or you want to
16, here's 16 people.
16 people, okay. All right, here's the members. Stan from the auditor, Stan McBroom, Susan from the county attorney's office, Mary Burnett, Rob Christian, Tona Hitt, Penny from district judge, Mickey Sharon from the county judge, Jackie Solomon, Jan Pope from IT, Martin or Rachel from JP1 or in 2, Danny Tuggle from JP4, Nelda Walters from purchasing, Kathy Davis, treasurer, 2 commissioners, or a commissioner and a judge, and then Rhonda from the county judge's office, and Constable Dwayne Hart or Chad. And that's the proposal. Any discussion about this?
Just who you want the 2 from our group to be.
Do we, you want to,
Judge Cockerham, and since you have IT background, and Dick Rowan would be my 2 nominations.
okay. Anybody got any further discussion on that?
Motion to approve the appointment.
Second.
I think it's a railroad.
We got railroaded last week, 2 weeks ago, so we're just paying the favor back.
Is this what kangaroo means?
Yep. I tell you what, we will approve in just a second, but we need you want Chad on that, or Dwayne, do you want to be on that?
Chad's more computer literate than I am, so I could, since Chad's not here.
Good thinking. Good thinking.
Committee, Commissioner Simpson and I know when to get off that train, okay?
True.
Just wait.
Well, okay, then the committee will be the ones that we said, and the ones that were 14 and number 16, it will be Ron and Cockrum, and on number 16, it'll be Chad. And
You're good with that?
is any discussion about this committee? Can I-
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Call a question.
Any public discussion, maybe I should say.
Call a question.
You might explain what the committee's for. Jackie has explained to us, but.
Yeah, that letter.
Yeah, I mean, that way if you're out in
This-
TV land or for
This
Catholic
is,
benefit.
right now, the county is on an old AS400 system that runs net data, and he has a statement in here, if the AS400 crashes hard, then we'll be down until replacement parts, and it's just a real old limiting system, so there's a new system. There's a lot of new systems out there, but they believe that Tyler is kind of the crown jewel of county systems. So they want to do an evaluation for moving off of that and moving on to this new system. And that's what this is all about.
In Jackie and I's discussions yesterday, he also mentioned that he, I believe, and Jan are going to first investigate exactly what net data has available on a current basis, because our records show that under previous administrations, anytime something came in new from there, it kind of taxed our system because we weren't prepared for upgrading.
There are newer versions.
Right.
And that would equate to more costly. There'll be numbers related to updating the existing system as well.
Versus replacing it. So we're going to look at both.
Okay, do we have a motion? Steve, did you make?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Mike did, and I second
Call
it.
question.
Okay, Commissioner Berry, and I believe Commissioner Simpson seconded that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And that
Thank y'all very much.
That was reversed.
Thank y'all.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, you reversed that. Mike made the motion. Steve
Mike,
seconded.
okay. All right, Mike made the motion,
Reverse that.
and,
Mary's got it correct over here.
all right, very good, thank you, Mary. All right, item number 4 is talk about burn ban, and I have two, after you speak, I have two citizens.
Hey, Judge, Commissioners, as you know, we haven't experienced any significant rainfall, and that's just continuing the drought conditions we've had ongoing. We're averaging our drought index at about 631, with actually a high of 689 in the southern portion of the county. Over the month of June, fire departments responded to about 31 fires. That's not structure fires, that's strictly grass or something along those lines. May, we ran about 20 fire calls. 2 of the fires we've had recently have been due to hay balers. I mean, the fuel's that dry to where even doing that process is causing fires right now, if there's any type of mechanical issue at all. Excuse me. Currently, there's 233 counties that have burn bans in place. 164 of them have fireworks, with an additional 6 waiting for the governor's approval. According to all the data from forestry and fire departments across the state, we're looking at the worst fire season or potential fire season since the 2006 year. Conditions are that bad. We've burned about 3.3 million acres statewide. Back then, we burned, I believe, is 2.2 million. So we're considerably up as far as the fire danger across the state. Based on the continuing threat and the fact that we don't see any type of relief, I am recommending that we implement the disaster declaration, which puts the welding restrictions in place. And I'm also asking for the court and the county judge to consider a disaster declaration, which would ban the use of fireworks for 60 hours, and then a letter to the governor's office requesting that extension through July. That part is a judge's decision, and it's a disaster declaration from the county judge himself. Once we would, if the judge so chooses to do that, then we'd send off a letter to the governor's office, and then he would allow us to extend that past the 60 hours.
Okay, thank you. Does any commissioner have any questions for Brian?
So on the 14th, or whatever, when we met on the 14th, we decided not to do fins and rockets. That was at the court's discretion at that point.
That's correct.
Okay,
Anything beyond that is under disaster declaration from the county judge.
okay. And I believe, I've had a meeting with about 4 of the fireworks dealers, and one thing they've not done is they've not opened their stands yet. Are you aware of that?
I am aware that I actually talked to a couple of them this morning.
And I believe when they do talk, they're going to agree to not open until July the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, only be open 4 days. So, they're trying to make a proactive measure to, they understand the severe drought as well, but they're trying to make a proactive decision as well.
Understand, and that was something even, that I had put in the Hood County News for citizens to get with the fireworks vendors, and if, I'm sure they can give them some stuff that's not aerial, kind of limits the threat, but just the way the conditions are out there, that's requesting.
Well, the problem I have with it is that this weekend we'll have 50,000 people show up from the Metroplex. They'll stop at Whiskey Flats and Benbrook and buy all their fireworks. Whether they read the paper, watch 27, or the KPIR, they're not going to know what the rules and laws are.
Correct.
So I've talked to the sheriff as well as you, about how it's going to attack the emergency personnel going, not only the regular calls we go on, but then turn right around and go on every fire call for fireworks.
Understand.
Okay.
Okay, and again, I know that I'm just going to make sure that everybody knows the fireworks people have agreed not to start selling until January 1.
July.
July 1, yeah.
January 1, I'm good with that.
That's for New Year's. That's for New Year's. So, July 1. So, and I don't think that's a big concession on their part to help work with the county on doing this. Chase, you want to come up and address it?
Judge, Commissioners, thank you for your time. We did agree to not using or not selling sticks and fins, and the fireworks people are selling here in Hood County. We've gotten together and agreed not to open until July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, being proactive, and that was voluntary. Nobody said we had to do that. And we all kind of support if we could get together at a work session after the sale of fireworks this year, after July, and adopt a plan similar to what Harris County has done. So we have a standard set in place. So every year when it comes to selling fireworks, we don't run into the same problem. We can find out what the KBDI is and know exactly what the results will be from that. So I appreciate if we could get together in a work session and work on that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Shan?
Judge, Commissioners, it's so weird, I'm so used to saying mayor council my whole life, The Texas Forestry Service every year puts out a forecast fire danger map, and the categories are low, moderate, high, very high, and extreme. And as you're aware, this week we've had winds up to 15 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, and that's one of the reasons also that the vendors have voluntarily closed their stands, not do any sales until July 4th weekend. And we realize the grass is turning brown, it's a little dry out there, but we also like to remind everybody this is Texas. It's like this every summer. It's just a little bit early this year. But the forecast fire danger map put out by the Texas Forestry Service only shows us for the end of this week, and this weekend is moderate, not high, not extreme. So, and that's because the winds this weekend are predicted to be low. Matter of fact, weather.gov says that our high winds Saturday are 5 miles an hour. And in the evenings, we're looking at calm winds. And with a background in the fire service, same thing with Commissioner Berry, it's not just the dryness, it's the winds that cause the problem. Last year we were wetter, but we had high winds. We didn't have very many issues at all. This year we're drier, but we're not going to have much as far as wind this weekend. And therefore, I would suggest that we're not in a disaster mode by any means. And fireworks are being sold all around the county right now, in Tarrant County, up in Parker County. It really hasn't been an issue, and we don't expect it to be an issue. So we appreciate your support and your time in this. I agree with Chase. I'd really like to sit down this fall with the fire marshal, the commissioners, and the judge and see if we can't look at doing something like Harris County has done that provides for the safety of the citizens, and it's a step plan by how dry it is. So thank you for your time. Have any questions?
Thank you. No, I've seen that plan, and I really like the plan. because it gives, it's all set, if you meet these, then you're banned. If the conditions are here, and it's not just an arbitrary thing, it's somebody,
Right.
believes or something,
And if you're familiar with Harris County, the fireworks industry, it's been so nasty every year around fireworks season. I mean, it's volatile. And for them to sit down and come up with a plan is just so impressive. I'm very impressed myself, and when I'm looking at the plan, I'm very impressed with it. And I think we could even all agree to tighten that plan up and apply something like that to Hood County, and it really take a lot of this controversy out of it every year and provide for the safety of the citizens that live here. Two other things I'd like to just say real quick. One is our citizens here in Hood County are really good about self-policing. When the winds are high or when it's dry, you'll be surprised how they come in and what they pick out to buy because they are aware of it, Also, we're going to put little pamphlets out into the bags as we sell fireworks this year. Encourage property owners of large tracts, our ranchers, and like myself, to mow fire breaks around the edge of their property, which they should be doing every summer anyway when it gets dry. We should be encouraging that because it gives the firefighters a break every time they have a fire into the grass field. And I forgot what the other thing was, but anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Shan.
Shan, that hits right on something I wanted to say too, and that is that the self-policing is important. I think that we'd probably be a lot further ahead to spend our time on our time and our efforts and our money on educating people on the proper use, because if you look at the scheme of things over the period of a full year, the major fires that we have in Texas are not majority started by fireworks. So if we ban something like that, what you're doing is you're setting up an unenforceable rule, first of all, because for every 10 that break the rule and you catch one, that means 9 knowingly got away with it, so it encourages 9 more. So I don't think it's an enforceable rule. I think we're a lot better off to apply to people's common sense and so forth than we are to set up a rule that's going to just guarantee that our emergency people run crazy and still catch a minority of the folks who have broken the rules. And frankly, with or without rules, there's a certain percentage going to break them anyway.
Right, and you're exactly right. Matter of fact, I've testified in Austin to this for the legislators. As a matter of fact, you hit the nail on the head. Controlled burning causes 20% of the fires in Texas, over $20 million a year in damage, where fireworks causes 0.3% of fires in Texas. The number is so small that the state fire marshal's office had to create a graph just for that, because it doesn't show up on the larger graph in comparison of fires. I mean, the threat is very small. We realize it's a threat, and that's why we've shut down sales until the weekend, so we can concentrate on that weekend. Winds are low this year, and I think we're going to be in good shape. But I really would like to sit down and come up with a plan. Like I
agree.
My concern, Judge, is if we banned them down here to county, to just cold turkey, and we ban them, they're still buying them in Parker County, they're buying them in Somerville, or Whiskey Flats, they're buying them. I talked to Don Beeson at Johnson County, they're not banning theirs, so they go and buy them somewhere else. We don't allow them to shoot. Let's just say everyone doesn't shoot. If you let them shoot them and they get them over with in the next 4 or 5 days, we'll be done with it most likely. And a lot of this is not so much the fire dangers as a nuisance for the dogs and the horses and everything else. But if we ban them, they're going to shoot them in July and August when it's even drier and hotter, and it's still the same potential and danger. People just need to be aware, and I think Brian and I talked about it, and I know Shannon and I did. If you start a fire with fireworks, you're responsible for your neighbor's pasture, you're responsible for the houses they burn down, you are responsible. So you need to put the accountability back on the people shooting the fireworks and educate them in that manner. And, I mean, we have speeders every day. 10 of them don't get caught, 1 of them does. I mean, so you're exactly right. They're going to tax these sheriff's deputies and the fire marshal out there chasing everyone, trying to catch them. You and I did it, Shannon, Arlington, every 4th of July, just like Paul Walters sitting there. We didn't catch but 1 out of 100. But they're going to have to cut a call at 911 dispatch and go out and chase these calls because we've banned them. Now, at least what we're doing is telling the police themselves, be accountable and be aware that you'll be held responsible for any damage you create to your neighbors.
And also, and this is exactly right, we could advertise it, do a fire safety campaign in advance, let them know, mow your grass, water your yard before you ever do this, have somebody set out there to spot if there is any fires, have a pump-up water can, have straw brooms soaked in water. There's so many things that we're going to put in our pamphlet to put out. But really, we need to get that out before the fireworks season every year to let them know, here's how you prevent these fires. And you know what? They'll do it. If we can just educate them on it, they'll do it. They're good people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shan. Yes.
Well,
Just on the prevention side, we have through Hood County News, through local media outlets, Channel 27, all that, tried to get out there and really educate the people about using common sense, bottom line. And not only with that, but we've gone to some of the vendors, talked to them about it. And I think if we can get that information out there, yes, it greatly does reduce the hazard. We post it on the website, the county website, all that stuff. So it does help reduce the risk. And what it comes down to is, just like everybody said, it's not the 90% of the people out there that are causing the problem, it's the 10%. And that 10% is the one that when it comes down to it, we need to be able to have something we can crack down on them, just like, speeding or DWI or anything else. We're trying to do it to protect everybody else, not the individual doing the driving, in the first place, so.
Well, Steve's exactly right in what he said, too, and that is that you are responsible individually, whether it's 4th of July holiday weekend or not. If you start a fire that gets out of whack and causes damage to somebody else's property, you're responsible regardless of what the date is.
Exactly. And that's, we try to promote that.
And regardless of what the KBDI is, too.
We do that when we're talking about controlled burns versus fireworks or anything else. You're responsible for the fire you start.
Yeah.
Why don't you come by the office after this, and we'll talk a little more. Okay? Thank y'all very much. I believe item number 5, Tim, wasn't that requested to be tabled, and which is the electrical down at the... Okay, we're going to table item number 5, and that brings us to convene into executive session pursuant to Section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code to discuss options regarding personnel. Rick Tidwell.
Before we go there, you might just make a note, this is a HIPAA issues while we're doing this.
Yeah.
It's not a disciplinary, it's a HIPAA.
Yeah, it's not disciplinary, it's
That's not right.
health.
It's trying to help him.
So, yeah. All right, and so, anyway, we're going to, I guess, go over to the jury room or something. You feel free to stay. We'll be right back. Okay, we're reconvened into regular open session, and there's no action taken on what we did in the executive session, so we're going to do a little bit more research on that. And let's do that presentation right now. What do you think? We'll get you in just a second.
Thank you for hearing me, County Judge and Commissioners. I was in Crescent preparing for a trial next week. Missed the beginning of the meeting, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to Lori Casper her 5-year PIN for 5 years of service to the county. She's worked 2 years in the county attorney's office, and like a lot of people that work in the DA's office, I poached her away from Kelton. And she's worked for me now for 3 years. Very good hand. Glad to have her. I'd like to present this to Lori.
Are you trying to give it back?
Thanks, Lori.
The worm.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else on presentations, or is that it? Okay. Number 9 is purchasing. Consider and take appropriate action to amend the 2010 Purchasing Policy and Procedure Manual.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. It's at the request of Patillo, Hill and Brown, our county auditor, or not county auditors, they're outside auditors, that we put a debarment and debarred vendors policy into our manual. They're doing this federally across all entities, and it just helps to protect us from possibly doing business with someone that we shouldn't be doing business with. So I sent that all to you and would like to ask for your permission to add it.
I will accept a motion to amend the 2010 purchasing to debar.
So move.
Second.
Okay, have a motion made by Commissioner Heatherington, seconded by Commissioner Simpson to approve this. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And B, consider, take appropriate action for donations to Hood County Inventory.
This is a request from the Friends of the Library to take surplus county inventory that belongs to the library. These are items of deleted books, media, and other items, and donate them to the Friends of the Library for sale in their bookstore. And then all the proceeds from their store go back into supporting our library. This is just to get it on record so that we will stay legal in what we do.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Heatherington, seconded by Commissioner Berry, to approve the donations of Hood County Inventory, items of deleted books and mediums, other items to Hood County Libraries, which is 501c3, to sell in their store. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. All right, that concludes the...
Oh, vacation,
What?
vacation policy.
Do I have another one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This one.
Yes, I'm sorry. We have a new vacation policy. Any discussion on the vacation?
Bob's not here, he's in Austin, but Amy's here. I don't want to put her on the spot, but she can probably explain it. There was a clause in the policy committee that's made up of, 5 or 6 of us sit in the room, Kathy and Dawn, and I don't want to miss, and others, and Sheriff Deeds. There was a clause in there about vacation policy, and this is just to clean it up. Bob thought it was necessary to go ahead and provide it and push it out front and get us to approve it. It has to do with bringing vacation from another employer or bringing from the outside, and that's been taken out. So it's just clean it up. This will also be submitted when we send the policy manual down to TAC, but at this point, it was the HR, I believe, thinks it's time to bring this forward. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Berry, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington to approve. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Now, can we adjourn? Thank y'all very much.
Don't have nothing else.